Welcome to the Regal Change YouTube channel. My name is Thaddeus, and here we welcome with open arms the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women. So, in today's topic, what I want to talk about is if they aren't making you feel good mentally, you probably just need to cut that relationship loose and let them go be the free bird that they are not over there. And you can be the free bird. You're going to be the free person. You're going to be the lively, energetic, adventurous person out there. Now, men and women bring different things to the table in different relationships because ultimately men bring the adventure and the excitement. At least that's what they're supposed to do, and the leadership. Whereas the women are supposed to bring, in a very real sense, peace, nurturing, etc. So the man has a house, but the woman makes it a home, right? Everybody has heard that saying. If you are in a relationship with someone, whether you're male or female, and they're not providing these kinds of traits for you and to you to some degree, I highly recommend you examine why you're in the relationship that you are in, and just in general, with life in general, with business in general. If your college, whatever it is that you've got going on in your life, if you're at a place where, if you're at work and you're just at a place where people around you are treating you in a way that you genuinely believe that they are downplaying your value, then you need to move to somewhere else immediately. This doesn't mean you just, cut off your job and your resources and your cash flow altogether, but it means that you start taking your life a little bit more sincerely and start looking for other things. And the reason that this is because we all have to understand the dynamics and the purpose of influence and being able to influence our own lives in a way that provides stability, that provides creativity, and that provides flexibility and time and resources. Because if you do not have those things, you're not going to actually be able to do the things that you really want to do. So you have to ask yourself also, what is it that you want to do? And do you want to do it with the people that you are currently around? Because now there are caveats to this, right? Because sometimes tough love is what you might need. Sometimes what you might need is a little kick in the rear end, metaphorically, to actually get your butt off the couch and to go do something. When I was nearly 200 pounds 3.5 years ago, and I was playing video games, and I was eating pizza, and I was having ice cream, I wasn't doing these things particularly a lot, but way too much at the time for anybody that old. I was 23 at the time. I'm 27 now, so it was about 3.5 years ago. And I was just too old to be doing those kinds of stuff anymore. Like, it was just, I needed to change something. And so what I did was, I had a vision of what it would be like to feel healthy and to feel like I'm doing what I need to do to live and survive and to thrive. I don't necessarily like the word survive because here on this channel, we want to empower people to thrive. We don't want to empower people to just survive. Okay? I want everybody to be able to live a life of luxury if they can, but that takes work and it takes effort. And thank God that I'm in a place where I understand that to the fullest degree, and I'm actually making these conscious choices to do those things. Now, speaking of consciousness, this is something else that we need to really understand in order to progress the way that we want. If you are in a mental headspace around people and they're making you feel like you are really not as valuable as you really are, what's really going on is you're not compatible consciousness-wise. So you are basically on different time lengths or time waves of consciousness. Well, what exactly does that mean? It means that you are actually experiencing, like you're not supposed to be together. There's not a harmonious union there. You ever been around people where things are just really easy? You know, like things are just really nice and simple. You get this feeling around authentic people. Authentic people have a sense of like trust to them. You just feel like you can trust these kinds of people because, well, they're authentic, and authenticity never lies. The real recognize real, right? And so, what I realized fairly early on, before, like when I started to lose the weight and I started to really just apply more of the physical aspect in my life, because I had the spiritual stuff, like I had the foundation of that completed, no problem. I've always been fairly spiritual, but you could say I put that in quotation marks because sometimes the spirituality side of things doesn't really mesh up with what people actually like think spirituality is. So to me, spirituality is following the source of creation and creating, understanding that you were created to create, and creating is your mode of function, your primary mode of function. And so one thing I learned was that if I'm going to create, I'm not going to be able to invite the past that has damaged me mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, because guess what? You can get physically sick around narcissists. You can get physically ill around people that do not have their minds right. You know, they've got screws loose and not in a good way. Okay? Some of these people are crazier than a monkey with a bunch of bananas. Like, these people are bananas. Okay? And they are going to make your life a living hell. And even the haters out there. I lately, within the last, I would say 6 months or so, I haven't gotten nearly as much hate as I used to when I really started to make certain changes. But now it's more about respect, and you can like it or love it or hate it, but you're going to respect it one way or another. That's just how I operate mentally. And I call stuff out. And I don't like to take anything from anybody. And I don't like to just be friends with people, like just whoever. It's not necessarily that I hate people and I wish them well. Like, people matter, okay? People really do matter, and I want people to know that they're cared for and that they are worthy of being heard and seen, because everybody really deserves that from God, ultimately. And if I'm going to be Christ-like and follow Christ, then I want to make sure that I'm capable of doing that. However, your time is valuable. You have to recognize when people are trying to play you, or people are trying to manipulate you, or whatever they're trying to get out of you. Sometimes, if you really don't know, the best thing to do is just ask, what are your intentions? Or what do you want? Like, it's really simple. And it can kind of come across as a little bit aggressive or rude. But at the same time, you don't want to waste your time, and you don't want to waste whatever you have going on, because you've probably got better things to do. We've got way bigger fish to fry. We want to create, at least on this channel, this is what I'm striving to do, and this is what I'm encouraging everybody to do. We want to value philosophy. We want to innovate. We want to evolve. We want to strive for something higher. We want to encourage renovations in science. And we want to live a life in which we can live in prosperity and understand that morals can be upheld by all different kinds of social classes. So what exactly do I mean by that? You have to be able to understand social classes on people. There's just like there's financial class, there's going to be a social class. Social class is not necessarily the same thing. And social class is going to be far more effective in the long term because you have more influence in some way. Why do you think Thomas Edison, was it Thomas Edison or Tesla? Whoever it was, whoever Tesla was like up against in the science or innovation world, Tesla didn't get as much recognition because the other person was so focused on understanding that, well, actually, in order to market the science, you have to know how to talk to people. And this is what I think a lot of men nowadays do not understand. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know how to actually talk. They don't know how to actually communicate. It's like their soft people skills are so far gone that even just trying to encourage people to talk to other people is like harrowing. And a lot of the times it's also, I was this way as well. I didn't like talking to people, but it wasn't because I was never capable. I'm a people oriented person. I love people, but I don't really trust a lot of people. That's the thing. I have a very close network of people that I operate with, and this is something that I'm going to continue to advocate for in my videos. If you're going to roll with me, and if you're going to roll the people that I'm with, y'all got to be a godlike savage out here. Specifically the men I'm speaking to in that instance. The women, we want our women to be soft. Again, going back to the wives. We want them to be soft, warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic, those kinds of attributes. We don't want the hard like that's a headache, man. Like talk about a headache. And these kinds of people, both males and females that are just trying to control you, they bring nothing but headaches. And so you have to recognize what kind of behaviors people are exhibiting to determine their social class so that you can see, okay, who's really got the influence and who's actually just got the appearance. Who's actually got the tenacity and the grit, and who's only doing it just for the sake of looking good. Because that's what their goal is, ultimately. That's what their goal is. They don't have, a lot of the people that are in our society don't have the existential understanding of life. They think that they do, but they don't. And even if they think they do, they kind of brush it off as if it's not a big deal. Existence has no goal unto itself but itself. And that can be very daunting when you actually realize what that means. What that means is that life is like only, how do I say this in the most proper way and sophisticated way as I can? Life itself operates on power, purpose, and influence. And it leaves no prisoners. And God made the world this way. Have you ever seen lions in the jungle, man? Have you ever seen just wildlife in general? I remember going to a national park when I was younger, and we saw a pack of wolves attack an elk in Yellowstone. It was either Yellowstone or Tetons or something up there, but it was Yellowstone, I think. Anyway, that was incredible. That was incredible to see a pack of wolves just devour an elk on the side of the road. Like, just happened. It just happened. Life is not necessarily fair for everybody. That elk did not want to die that day. I guarantee you. That elk did not want to die, but this is life. This is a world where we get eaten or we eat. That is the reality of the situation, and it took me a long time to accept that. Because I thought, well, this is just too cruel of a world. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's not that cruel if you get around the people that are on your wavelength of consciousness. It's not that cruel if you are around people that understand you and have similar values, goals, aspirations, etc. It's really not. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing. Because like the Bible says, 2/3 of the people in the world, they don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. That's a majority, by the way. Majority of the people on the planet do not have eyes to see and ears to hear. They do not understand that inviting the past that continually damages them, either physically, emotionally, or psychologically, or spiritually, is only going to make them more stuck. Do you want to be stuck? Or do you want to be able to move on, recognize your patterns of behavior, and do something completely different? So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.